want to thank you for making those comments. I was having a problem with my comment section because they were not showing, but right now it has been fixed. So when you do your comment, you will be able to see it. I also want to thank everybody who has supported this channel, and I also want to talk to that person who has been subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing, because I have more and more coming up for you guys. Now, let's talk about comments and let's talk about questions, because I feel like it's good to address that. Now, you find that sometimes you write your message or you write your question and I am not able to respond to it like ASAP. Now, there's a reason, because I live in the US, and if you are on another part of the world, maybe you live in Africa or you live in another part, we have something called a time difference. For example, right now when I am doing this video, it is in the morning. But when I call someone in Kenya, it's going to be in the evening, closer to the evening. So you find that we have that time difference. And of course, sometimes we write a message and I'm busy doing something else. So kindly give the message when you have written it, give it at least 12 to 24 hours, or no, 24 to 48 hours. And I am going to reply. Why? Because we have a time difference. And the time that you write it, maybe when you wrote it, it was during the day, wherever you were, but where I am sleeping, maybe it's during the night. So that it really varies. So you find that I will see your question, but give it some time before I reply, because I saw someone was kind of complaining, and I wrote back to them, but I don't know if they have replied, because this is a journey, and we have to go together. And at the same time, we have to consider, there's so many factors to be considered when we talk about time, So today I am going to talk about 6 things. I'm going to talk about invitations. I'm going to talk about nursing shifts. I'm going to talk about Aupair. I'm going to talk about the marriage certificate, the proxy, and I'm also going to talk about the travel document information. So those are some of the questions that I have received from you guys. And like I said, I am going to do these videos in 2 sessions so that I am able to cover all the questions. So stay tight. Let's talk about nursing, because the last video that I did, I was talking about jobs. I was talking about someone coming here in the US and deciding that they don't want to go back to school, because when you go to healthcare, you can work as many hours as you can, and you can make, some people argue, if you work so many hours, you will make even more than a nurse, which I do not argue with, because let's assume like you're working like every day a week, and you're working 16 hours every day in a week, and you're not having a break, you will still make the money. There is no dispute about that. But you find that a nurse will go to work for 3 days, and that's where the question comes in, because this person asked, if you work for 3 days, how are you paid? Or like, how do you make your money? And I saw someone replied to them, which was a very good reply. But this is what happens. Here in the US, we are not paid by month. I know that there are some other places that you will go. For example, if you are selling cars and you're a salesperson, of course, there is a specific amount of salary that they will be paying you every month. And then if you sell a car, they will be giving you commission. But if you find that when you go to healthcare, it's a little bit different, and all the other jobs, it's a little bit different, because you're paid by the hour. Every hour you are paid. So when you go to work, the first thing you do is to clock in. You have this a computerized machine whereby you go and enter your number, because everybody will have a number that, your work number. And then it says that you got into work. So let's assume that you go into work at 7 and you're leaving at 7, or you go to work at 6 and you're leaving at 6. So you will clock in. After you have clocked in, when you're leaving, when your 12-hour shift is over, you find that you will clock out. So that gives you 12 hours. And if you find that those 12 hours, you're paid every hour that you are working. So when you're paid every hour that you're working, and it still varies, there's still very few remaining, especially here in Wichita, there are few remaining nursing homes or that will give you work for 8 hours. Most of them are leaning now to 12-hour shifts, because like I tell you, there's always a shortage of people to work here. There's always a shortage of people. And it's unfortunate that to try and come in to get that visa is always a challenge. So for those 12 hours, when you are a nurse, 12, you work 36 hours every week. But you find that the money that you make, let's assume like it's you're a nurse and you have an aide, a CNA, you find that all the time when you're working is that you will always be paid to like double because you have gone to school and all that. So when you range all the salaries, it becomes double. Like what you're making and what the CNA is making is like half. So you find that what a person is argues here is like, I can go work twice, so that means you will be forced to work more days. If I am working 3 days, then another person will be forced to work 6 days so that they can reach to that amount. You see what I mean? And you find that my argument was that it's okay to do those doubles, but you find that at certain time with age catches up with you, and you are not going to be able to do that kind of work. Now, there's another person who asked me about a proxy marriage. I know a proxy marriage is whereby one person is present and the other person is, it's like something, a marriage that can be done online. Now, I haven't had a case like that, but to be on the safe side, what I would do is write after you have filled out your DS-260 and you see that if you can write to them, because I said that if you have a question, you can always use your case number. You write it. You have to write your case number, your date of birth, and your name, and you write to them and ask about it. That is the best thing that I can tell you. But I cannot sit here and tell you, oh, the proxy marriage is okay, go ahead. No, I don't like giving information that I am not sure of, because I try to read about it. I try to look at the website, because I like to look at travel.state.gov to see what I will find. But they say a marriage certificate, but they don't specify. So it's good for you to contact them and see that proxy if you have. And you find that normally what happens when you win your DV lottery and you had been married, like I said, we do traditional marriages, which are good. And you find that it's a challenge, especially in Africa. Like, for example, the tribe that I am in Africa is very hard, and it takes a while before you are granted to do a white wedding by the parents. Of course, you have to go through the process of the bride price and everything. So what happens is that after you have won the DV lottery, because they will require a marriage certificate, you find that it's always good you go, you talk with your parents and see if you can come to some agreement, and then they let you do, even if it's that marriage that you will go to do with on the whatever, on the DC's office or the attorney's office. You know what I mean? So you can do that. Because you will need something. You don't necessarily need to do a wedding. No, you don't. You don't need to do a wedding. But that is if you had filled your first application that you're married, because you will need that document, and it is not going to affect you in any way. Someone was asking, if I may get a marriage certificate, is it going to affect me in any way? No, it's not going to affect you in any way. And like I said, is that when you are married, you're married. You know, nobody can dispute that. And America is very diverse, and they know about cultures. Even those people, even when the people, let's assume the American embassy in Kenya, they are living in Kenya. Of course, they have started the culture. They know what goes on. They know there's something called traditional marriage. They know that some people just cohabit and stay together without a marriage certificate. So, and that's something that I have done, because when we won our DV lottery, we didn't have a marriage certificate, but we applied for it after we had won. Actually, yeah, after we had won the DV lottery is when we went to go and get our marriage certificate. And I remember it was the time, the cut, because like I told you, I saw my email at the end of January, and we were supposed to go for our interview in March. So in between that time is when we went and got our marriage certificate. So it's very, very important for you to know that. Now, there's another one that is saying on the DS-260 about the travel document information. Now, the travel document information is your passport. That is your passport that you have to write down there. The information, that is the number of the passport, the date of issue, and the country of issue. You have to write that information. That is the travel document information. So that is what they are asking you if you do not understand that. Now, there's another person who was asking about Aupair, and I talked about Aupair. It's a program whereby you apply online. If you go online and Google Aupair, you find that they have a website, and they will have you. If you want more information, what they normally do is that they ask for your name and they ask for your email address. When they ask for your email address, you find that they will start sending you stuff to your email. You start receiving notifications from your email, and then if you want to apply, you can apply there. And I am going to link that video. I think it was a while ago that I did about Aupair, and when I link that video, you will be able to see what happens. But normally, if you go online and Google it, then you can get that information there, because they have a very big website that you can apply. And just to talk a little bit about it, is that the Aupair is whereby you are not a nanny specifically, but when you have applied and you have qualified according to their guidelines, you find that they will look for a home for you, and then you will go and stay there, not necessarily as a nanny, but you are going to be like a part of the family. And of course, the main thing is that they want the people who have those people, they want their kids, or they want to know more about diversity. So you will be a caregiver in some kind of a way, but not necessarily, because there are requirements. Of course, you'll have to have your own room, and they will be giving you a certain amount of money, and you find that your host must be able to get you a cause of any nature. Those are their guidelines. But for you to be able to know that information, I'm going to link that video here because I had done it, and then you're going to look at that. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is invitations. Now, I've received so many that are telling me their dream is to come and to live in the US. Yes, and they want to know how about invitations. Now, you can be invited by a person to come and live in the US, but you find that there has to be a reason. Someone cannot just, most of the time, if you say that I am going to visit, they don't give you, because you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt what you're coming to do. For example, I remember I invited my mom the first time when I had my third child. And when she went to the embassy, her reason was like she was coming to see the new baby, which is a thing. It's a thing. It's a good reason. For me, it's a good reason. And I was kind of upset why they didn't give her, because she's a parent. Why didn't they give her, And she was just coming to see the baby. And in the African culture, when the baby is born, the baby has to be seen by the extended family. So she wasn't given because of that reason. But when I invited her to come to my graduation, she was given. So there are things, I think, and of course, it also depends on how you present yourself at the embassy, because like I told you, when you go there, you have to show confidence. It's like you're going for a job interview. You have to have a reason to prove to the consular that when you come in, you will be able to go back. That's the main thing that they're looking for, because they know that the chances of someone coming in and not going back home are high. So you have to, when you are going for any invitation certificate or any other, even if it's an F1 visa, the one for students, you have to be able to, at the back of your mind, that you have to prove to the consular beyond reasonable doubt that you will go back home after you have been given the visa. And that's where the problem comes in. And sometimes it's all about culture, because you find that Africans, especially when we are talking to our seniors, we tend to be kind of shy. I wouldn't call it being shy, but there's a little bit of fear. There's also a little bit of not knowing how to present yourself. So, for example, let's assume that you have been asked, what are you going to do? I'm going for the graduation, but you do not have ties, because they want to see that you have ties that will make you go back. But then they ask you, how long will you stay? And then, they will ask you several questions. But then if you do not show them ties, maybe you have family members, you have a job, you have a farm, you have all that stuff, then they will not be able to give it to you, because if you do not have anything that will make you go back home, then they will think that you are not going to go back. And that's why you find that most people do not get it. So, but if you are able to prove to them that when you come in for that graduation, when you come in for that wedding, when you come in for maybe a funeral, because you find that there are some people who are choosing to bury their people here, you find that if you prove to them that you will go back, they are going to give you. And then it's always good when you're given, you said, this is the time that I am going to stay, and then I'm going to go back. It is always good to honor that, because you're given a visa for 5 years, especially in Kenya. And then when you're given the visa for 5 years, then if you decide that you're not going to go back, you're going to stay for 5 years, then When you go to apply another one, there will be a question, because you find that maybe you told them, I will stay for 6 months, or I will stay for whatever months that you said. There's some people who say that I'll only stay for a month because I have a job. I have to go back to my job. You know what I mean? And when you talk about a job, you must bring proof that you are employed somewhere. Huh? You don't just say that you have a job and you do not have proof. No, you have to have proof that this is where you work. Hmm? You have to have proof. If you are a farmer, this is my farm, this is what I do. You know what I mean? If let's assume you are a cattle farmer and you have milk and all that, show them this is what I do, this is what I get, this is what I make, and I have to go back and tend to my farm. See what I mean? So when you're given, there is no way that you came to visit and you stayed for 5 years. That doesn't work. So the second time you might go to ask for it and then you're not given, depending on how you treated your visa, because you cannot abuse it. If it's an invitation, treat it as one. Hmm? So it's very, very important for you to know all that. But the invitations, someone cannot just think I'm going to invite 10 people for no good reason. There has to be a reason. And I told you guys, we have different kinds of graduations. For example, we had there was a graduation that's going on. There are some people who are still graduating right now. They have graduation parties and all that, because you find that we have closed the school year. The school closed. So there are so many people who are graduating. So if someone was to invite you for a graduation, then they would have invited you earlier. The same case when we go to fall. There are some people when we finish fall that will graduate in December. That one is not very major, but people still graduate. I remember mine, I graduated in December when I did my nursing. So you find that that person has to be able to invite you before they even do their final test. Because after they finish school, the graduation will be very fast. It is set at a very fast date. So you find that if you invite someone for in a week and you are just finishing school, then that person might not be able. So the person who is inviting you, they have to send you the invitation letter earlier. I remember when I was graduating, I sent my mom the invitation letter like 2 months before I could graduate. So that means that I was still in class, but I had to send that invitation early so that she could book an appointment. And you find that there are some people who are saying that they have booked an appointment. They wanted to come this summer in May, but they got a date that was past May. Maybe you get a date that is 6 months later. Now you find that it's okay because that's the availability, but is it going to help you? Is that date going to help? If you go and tell them that I wanted to go to a graduation, they will say that the graduation is always past. So if this person who is inviting you should send you the invitation letter earlier. And then when you go there, yes, you will find a date. Click on the date and book it. But make sure that you're looking at the time frames, because time frames are very important. Because if the graduation was supposed to be in this May, and you got an appointment to go to the embassy in July, then that's irrelevant. But what you do is that even if you get an invitation, an appointment date that is far, what you normally do is that you keep on checking. Check that website for the embassy that you are in all the time. Check it all the time to see if there are some people who have cancelled appointments. Because if people cancel appointments, that date stays blank, and then you can always catch that and get it. But the person who is inviting you, they have to send you the invitation early. Like, for example, when I graduate, I will graduate next year in May. When I graduate from school, my day of graduation, that is not the day that I am going to send out the invitation letters to people. No, I will have sent them earlier. And what you do, you just go to your school, whatever management or whatever, you tell them that you want to invite people. They'll just give you a letter. They'll send you a letter, and then you can make copies and send to people. But then from there, that the next step is upon you, because remember, they will require you to have a passport. You must have that, and they will require you to pay money that is non-refundable to process your visa if you get it. And if you do not get it, they are not going to refund your money. So it's very, very important for you guys to know that. So I think that I have talked about those questions. I've talked about Aupair. I've talked about the proxy marriage. I've talked about the marriage certificate. I've talked about the travel document, and I have talked about invitation. So I hope that this video is going to help one of you, and I hope that I have answered some of the questions. So join me in the next video as I continue to tackle more questions. Thank you, and God bless you.